Right, folks, how's things? Enda Varley here. We have Davy Burke here tonight. Obviously, current Roscommon manager, discussing, previewing the All-Ireland final weekend. So, Davy, good to have you back. How's things?
How are you, Enda? I miss sparring with you.
Stevie's all right. I tell you what, he's taking your spot for the old sparring, all right. What's going on with you, anyway? How? Obviously, previewing the game, Davy. Obviously, you're in a good man or a good position to preview this. Obviously, you played obviously against Dublin in the All Ireland series, and then Kerry in the league. So, what do you reckon? We'll start with Dublin first, I suppose. Analysing them, where do you think? Where can you get at them, or what's your opinion on them?
First of all, I'd say where they're strong is obviously they seem to have the whole band back together now, and they seem to have all their experience really back on the field, and they're starting to become more and more formidable. I think every week that passes, I think it was no secret they were probably stuttering along there for a long time this year, and it looked like, to the naked eye that, they weren't going to go all the way, or they weren't going to be at this stage. But ultimately, whether they timed their run to perfection or whatever they done, they look to be the form team coming into this, coming into Sunday. Like, they've got the perfect blend for me, between the pace they have in their team and Merchant, McCaffrey, like their pace is unbelievable, their athleticism and their pace. And I do think for this weekend, that's a big issue for Kerry, because I don't think that Kerry team has the same level of legs or athleticism or pace, particularly pace, that Dublin team has, And it'd be very interesting to see what way they use McCaffrey. Do they use him off the bench? Do they start him? What do they do there? Like, there is a void in that Dublin half forward line. There's definitely an issue with Bugler. I don't know if he's in or he's out. I'm not sure what way he's fixed there.
There's talk, Davey, that he's out. Like, but you know yourself how these things go. Like, he's obviously used. Obviously, we're saying off air, like, with Bugler out, if he is out, it kind of throws the balance off in that half forward line, and that they're probably taking one off the bench then, and maybe Kilkenny, or they probably won't start McCaffrey, would they?
No, Kilkenny will definitely start. Yeah, there's no way. Like, look, Kilkenny got hurt against us in the All Ireland series. He got a big rap right in front of me, actually, on the sideline near the end of the game, and his shoulder, he got a bad smack in the shoulder now, and he kind of lost a bit of form, and obviously couldn't train. I'd imagine. I don't know this, but I'd imagine he couldn't train for a while after that. Lost a bit of form, got left out of the team, and all the talk that he keeps going lateral and all that. Yeah. Jeez, I tell you, I'd take him in the morning, wouldn't you? So for a fellow who goes lateral, look, he came on and made a huge impact. He played like a fellow now that had a bee in his bonnet the last day, and really made a massive impact. And I'd say Monaghan were nearly kicking themselves. The McCarthy was going so well on Scully that it nearly cost them the other side, because they meant they went for Kilkenny earlier. So Kilkenny, in my opinion, has to start. But where does that leave Dublin in that the balance, as you said? Because if they go Kilkenny, at 11 or whatever, if Bugler is out, we'll take it that he's out. Will they give Scully another chance? I'm not so sure. And it's not at the final. Who's going to win?
The half forward line the last day against Monaghan was Scully 10. Mannion was named when he was starting as centre, and then you had Paddy Small wing as well. Now, look at, like, to me, that's just Mannion can't play centre forward. He's played it before. Scully's your traditional wing forward, but as you said, dip in form. And then Paddy Small, I've seen enough with Ballymun, Dublin club football. Like, Paddy Small is kind of, to me, he's in the full forward line, or he's coming off the bench. He's finishing the game when the game's loosened up, and he's a bit more space, and he's coming on and getting a few scores for you.
Yeah, and you can't. Me and you have been banging on about this for a year or two now, about this crack. You can't play, in my opinion, five out now forwards. And if you play Mannion, Mannion, Con, Pascal, Costello, and together, it doesn't work. Your balance is way off, and ultimately, Monaghan were brilliantly set up, and they're a serious tactically aware team, Monaghan. But Dublin probably kept them in the game for longer than they needed to by setting up, got their setup wrong, I'd imagine, and so ultimately they're going to have to go Kilkenny and maybe Scully. Maybe they will have to go with Scully on the far side of it, I don't think they can go with O'Dell. I don't think they'll start him. I don't think they'll start Tom Lahiff and push Howard, or I don't think they'll do any of that. So ultimately, they'll have to go with 4 in Mannion, Costello, Pascal and Con. Yeah, and then go Scully and Kilkenny either side of them. That's what I think they'll probably have to do. And that gives them serious balance and serious potency up front now.
Well, like, if you're Jack O'Connor now leading up to this, I suppose not obviously going back to Roscommon, you obviously drew with them. You're the only, you're obviously, you drew with them this year. So it's obviously when you're going into that game, Davy, like what were you looking at in terms of, the long periods you kind of frustrated them, you kept the ball for, there was that, it was all over social media. How long did you keep the ball for again? And you ended
6 minutes. I think it was 6 minutes or something.
Yeah, something mad like so. And you ended up.
We worked on that every night, as you can imagine. That exact way, hold the ball for 6 minutes,
But I will say though, obviously it was talked about in you do. Roscommon this year have held the ball a bit more. You frustrate teams a bit more in terms of. I thinking back to the Mayo game. Obviously, you managed that game very well against the Breeze. Was Mayo were with the Breeze in the first half, and you
were a strong Breeze, very strong
Breeze, and you counter-attacked us, and you kept the ball. You squeezed every moment out of that clock. So obviously against Dublin, was that a conscious decision within the dressing room, or did you talk about that, Davy? Or look, I'm not.
It's just on the first point. It's ruining the game when it's the Roscommons or Monaghan doing it, but when Dublin and Mayo do it, it's cuteness, in a kind of way. So it's brilliant, isn't it? So look, Louth played Dublin in the Leinster final a couple of weeks before. That was a week or 2 before, 2 weeks before.
Yeah.
Obviously, we would have had a good look at it. I think the whole country looked at that and they ran up a rack. They ran rack altogether. They just ran them up. And I think everyone kind of got a lesson in Croke Park against that Dublin team. You can't do that, And even, let's be honest, Mayo got a lesson a number of weeks ago in the quarter final against Dublin, doing very similar thing. Probably being overly aggressive, going man-on-man against Dublin. It doesn't really work up there. So, and ultimately, you take your hiding then. That's what happens. So, I felt Louth kept giving them the ball back too cheaply, kept looking for contact and turning the ball over. And sure, look, if you turn the ball over to that Dublin team in Croke Park, they'll eat you alive. Yeah. So, ultimately, we looked at that and we said, well, their turnovers were X. So, if we can cut them in half or even cut them in a third, I think we might have that day. One, they don't have the ball, and two, they will get frustrated and they will want to come out the front foot, and then opportunities arise, and that's where you get one-on-ones, and that's when you get chances to take them on. So like Dublin are as defensive as the next team, they'll play you any way you want it, that kind of way. So so ultimately we would have learned a lot from the previous games, what Laois done probably poorly, what Louth done probably poorly, and we'd have learned a few, and then Kildare done not too bad against Dublin the first or the final. So for me, I think all managements are looking at each other and game plans and kind of picking out bits and pieces. And I do believe that Monaghan would have looked closely at our game at Dublin, I'm led to believe, in at that stage for the semi-final, and probably would have brought it on again, that kind of way. So that's what we're all at. And ultimately, I think you have to be pragmatic. You have to go to try win the game. So if you watch our game back, we didn't have 15 behind the ball or anything like it, like as in we had men ahead of the ball. We were holding the ball on our 45 or our midfield. We had 40 men ahead of the ball, not behind the ball now. So as in, and it was Dublin were the team that wouldn't come out. So, and again, they probably learned a lot from that. And I think this is one of the biggest strengths of this team, and is they'll very rarely get caught by the same thing twice, like very, very rarely. So,
well, as we were both saying, David, like they have stuttered. The two teams have stuttered along this year. Like it hasn't been a very comprehensive, as in Dublin have been fits and starts. Kerry as well up until the quarterfinal stage. They weren't very. No, they had a good win against Louth, but Louth were pretty much out of the competition. Didn't really beat a top kind of four team up until the quarterfinal stage. So it's been a strange year. Like in terms of Kerry, like how have you seen them this year? Obviously you played in the National League as well. Like
we did. We played in the National League down in Tralee on a Saturday night, and this team, I think there's 12. Well, what I believe will be Sunday's team. There was 12 of them starting that day. It was a very, very. It was a must-win game for Kerry. They were in relegation, but or otherwise, and must-win. So they put out there whatever they believe to be their strongest team. And I think it was a 3-point game in the end. They finished 113-13 or something along those lines.
Close game.
Yeah. So and look, ultimately we had our own regrets and whatever else. So, but this Kerry team's up. Look, they've got the best player probably of all time, and I think everyone, the narrative all week is that keep David Clifford to 5 or 6 points and Dublin will win. I probably would agree with it, to be honest with you. I think Kerry are lacking in a couple of areas. I think their two most important players by a long shot are Gavin White and David Clifford. I think because Gavin White has the one thing that Kerry kind of lack, and that's out and out pace. Brian Begley isn't getting into the team at the minute. Brian Begley has serious pace too, and he's gone out of the half back line there. They went with Paul Murphy. They went with more experience there. Like Graham Sullivan's a brilliant man marker. Like you watch back to the league football. Jordan Flynn kicked 4 points in the first half against Kerry up in McHale Park. He didn't touch the ball in the second half, but they pushed Sullivan out on him. So, and again, he picked up a number of players. Who did he pick up the last day? Like, he's a serious operator, but again, he's a real footballer. I remember back to 2018 under-20 All-Ireland semi-final, Kildare and Kerry, and he was centre back and he ran the show. He was unbelievable, Graham Sullivan. But again, not huge pace, just a quality footballer. So if you look across their middle eight, like with Jack Barry, with Darren Moynihan, and Spillane, they're serious. They're footballers. They're Kerry lads. They're serious footballers. But as regards that punch and pace, that top level, with the exception of Gavin, and maybe German O'Connor's a fair athlete too, with the exception of them boys, it's not really there. And you get the Croker, you come up against Dublin, you come up and they open up, and then, that would be a big concern of mine. And I hear the whisper that Gavin White could have a knock. Now, there's whispers going around about everything, you know yourself. So like last week, wasn't Barry Nash out for the hurling, 100% out last week, and then you ask him. He was asked that Monday, and he said, "It wasn't a bother on me all week." So people come up with different things, but I do think White and Clifford are by far and away their two most important players.
So you said with that, Dave, you're saying Dublin obviously have an edge around the middle third. You just think that more pace, more kind of midfield. McCarthy, Fenton, like the Howard, John Small, Merchant coming on, breaking the line. You just think they're going to mirror each other here. I presume, Dave. Like there's always going to be, especially with Dublin with Clifford, there's going to be a +1. Kerry are probably going to have a +1 as well. They're going to push on the kickouts as much as they can. It is going to be, and they're going to keep the ball for long spells as well. And as you said,
do you think they will? Yeah,
I think they will. Yeah, I think Kerry will be more cagey now. To be honest with you, I think Kerry or Dublin now. Dublin under Desi have been more conservative, and Gilroy as well. I don't think it's going to be. I definitely think it's going to be a cagey-ish game, and it might hopefully open up in the second half. But the first half will be cagey, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, it will be cagey, and they'll definitely mirror each other. Morley will sweep, and I think Merchant will sweep. I think they're going to put Merchant for some reason. I don't know why. I just think they're not going to put Davy Byrne there. I think Fitzsimons will pick up Clifford, and I think Merchant will sweep. That's what I think now. I could be wrong.
Like the matchup, we say, I'm just doing it out here, right? So, I had Fitz on Clifford. Davy Byrne going Gainey.
Yeah.
Lee Gannon on Shoney O'Shea.
Lee Gannon. Oh, no, John Small.
Okay, sure. Yeah. Well, Sean O'Shea kind of plays that third man in front of the D, doesn't he? He's kind of in and out, is he?
Yeah, kind of outlet. But have they not got running battles over the years, them two? I think they might, do they?
They're probably, they're probably right, yeah.
I think Gannon won't be given. Look, I don't think Gannon be given that role. I couldn't see him. I'd imagine Gannon will be put out onto a Spillane or a Moynihan, to be honest with you. That's what I'd imagine that will happen. He's wearing 2 or 4, doesn't matter.
Of course.
I would believe that Merchant will be left free. I think Fitzsimons will pick up Clifford. I think Davy Byrne will pick up Gainey, and I think John Small will pick up O'Shea, and that's 4 or 6, isn't it? And then you have Darren Moynihan, and you have Paddy's. Who's going to go? Lee Gannon goes after Paddy. That's what happens. Lee Gannon goes after Paddy. Who do you think will do that?
For some reason, I had John Small after Paddy, but sure, I could be.
It depends. Look, it depends who Desi Farrell goes. Number one fella, whoever the number one outlet, the number one key transition player for them in the half-hour line, that's who John Small is going to go after. So John Small.
Well, Paddy would probably not be that number one option. Like, you're saying, not for Shoney's your number one, is he?
Shoney's number one in that. Look at the form. Paddy's been tagged all year. He had a brilliant year last year. Brilliant year. Like, what a player. But he had a brilliant year last year. And it's fair to say he's dipped a bit this year. He's absolutely. But why is that?
Because March. Yeah,
he's been tagged.
Yeah.
He's been tagged now, right? The cat's out of the bag. So he's been tagged now, and he hasn't had a brilliant year. So I would imagine like Sean O'Shea is really coming into form. Like I thought, to be honest with you, I know Clifford ran amok. I thought he was man of the match the last day. Set the goal up early on, kicked 3 or 4 points in play, kicked a few frees. I thought he was brilliant, to be honest with you, like Sean O'Shea was. So I think he's really, really coming into form. And I don't think anybody will be good enough for him except for John Small. I think John Small is the only man Dublin will have for him. I'm not sure. I don't know well enough, so I don't want to get this wrong, but I'm not sure Lee Gannon is a tagger, is he? At that level, I don't know. No, I don't know.
Yeah, so you're going putting Lee on Party, yeah?
Yeah, Lee on Party and Shawnee on John Small on Shawnee. That's what I would.
Yeah, athletically they're probably the kind of same in terms of, you know, Lee, like Party's more kind of athletic than
dynamic.
he is. Yeah.
And he's more, and look, Party comes deeper. Like, doesn't he? Party will come out the field, doesn't he? Like, I think. You know, Shawnee is, I know he's the third man inside, but he's not. He comes out into 40 and plays the outlet role. That's what I like, top of the outlet, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And ultimately, you know, that's John Small's role. Over the years, you watch when they play Kildare every time. Who plays that role for Kildare? Ben McCormack. Who marks him? John Small. You know, but John Small is their shutdown man on the 40. That's who. So, in my opinion, now they might rate Party higher, and if they do, they do. Who might question Desi Farrell? So, you know, but I would, if it was me, I'd be putting John Small onto the man on the 40 who will be Shawnee O'Shea, whereas Party seems to come a lot deeper. Now, maybe I have this wrong, but Party seems to come a hell of a lot deeper than Shawnee.
No, we're kind of splitting hairs here now, I'd say, to be honest with you. Like, there's not much in it. Shawnee is coming into form, as you said. He's been, you know, his question marks he was getting criticism at the start of the year now. He wasn't in great form, but that's his own, you know, that's his own high standards. That's what people expect of him. So that's just
the whole thing with Kerry. The whole thing with Kerry was like, right, when we played them in Tralee, geez, they were awesome. Oh my God, they came out of the blocks. Now this was a high pressure game. They had to win this game, and they were not gone, but they were nearly gone. It was the second last round of the league, and they were awesome. And they hadn't been good. The team holiday, and you know the timing, the All Ireland, getting pat on the back all year. You know yourself what goes on. So. But they were awesome for 15 minutes now. Awesome they were. Like just I know it was a 75-minute game, and ultimately we were very much there. But they were, and Shawnee was quiet again that day, but he's just built it up week on week on week, and he's getting stronger and stronger, I think, to be honest with you. While I don't think you could say the same about Gainey. I don't think you say the same about Party. I don't think any of them, Darren Moynihan, I don't think Aegis Balan, I don't think they're on the same trajectory as Shawnee and Clifford are. I think David Clifford and Shawnee O'Shea are absolutely humming along at the minute and only getting better week on week. Whereas I'm worried, well, I'm not worried, but I would have concerns about the other Kerry forwards in what they're actually contributing at the minute.
Reading between the lines here, Jamie, you're like, for Kerry to win this game, as in it's the kind of others, we like, you know, apart from the star players, Clifford and Shawnee, like the others have to step up here and really the kind of 2 points here and there between the other 4 players, and Seaman O'Brien coming off the bench. Who else comes off the bench for them?
Killian Spillane coming in now.
He was outside 26 last day for some reason.
I think that was coming back from injury, and he hadn't enough done. That's what O'Connor said, I think. So, and Tony Brosnan's out now with some illness. So Tony Brosnan's out. Yeah, he is. So I'd say Spillane will directly replace him and be in. As far as I'm aware, Killian Spillane was an injury. It wasn't any other reason to be outside 26, you know. And like they'll bring Rory Murphy on, inexperienced but decent player. We've seen him in UCC this year. Very, very talented player, but again, very young. You know, Brian Begley will come in there. Like their bench is okay. You know, it's an okay bench. It's go on.
Mayo Burns as well. He comes
out Burns again. He'll come in for Darren Moynihan and Aegis Balan.
Yeah.
Like even with the other side, if you look at it though, like Jack Barry has had the hoodoo over Fenton for a number of times now, right? Yeah. And you can only imagine, like again, Brian Fenton, Con, and Kilkenny were, in fairness, all year were probably similar to Sean O'Shea. Were being given out about, were being toed or not at it or whatever it is, they're finished or whatever word you want to put on it. Complete rubbish, really. And now look at them all, absolutely, really been playing serious stuff, like, you know. So will Fenton have a bean as bonnet? I think he will. I think Fenton, you know, and maybe Barry just has his number for whatever reason, whatever way they match up. I just can't see Fenton not winning that matchup this weekend. I just can't see him not. Just the form he's coming into, and Jack just hasn't stood out for me this year to date. So I just think that that's a huge battle, and Kerry will look to Barry to silence him, like, you know.
McCarthy then obviously when you go on to Germany, then that's two very similar players here. It's like two
Rolls Royces.
Yeah,
like Dermot O'Connor is a special player. Player. He's a serious athlete now.
But he was coming in for criticism as well at the start of the year. He was again dropped standards, but again it's his own standards.
Now I will say he had a bad ankle injury. He only came back late, so he came on against us in the National League, and that was his first appearance in a number of weeks. So he hadn't played much. Bad ankle injury, and he came on and made a difference in 5 minutes. So he's a quality. I would have thought like he would have played against his underage as well. Quality player. You seen him get man of the match. He lauded it against Tyrone there a couple of weeks ago. Like he's a serious operator. In fairness to him, so I would see him as quality. But now the other man is on a whole different level to everybody else. James McCarthy, like he's as good as there ever is, ever was, in my opinion. If Dublin win, he'll probably get Player of the Year. Could he? Definitely in the conversation anyway. If Dublin win and he 9 All-Irelands, he'll probably go down as the best footballer ever, or potentially, definitely, very, very close to it. Has to be. Like, what a leader, what a footballer. Like, he comes up with big scores for a man who's not I don't know, he doesn't strike me as the most natural shooter.
Striker,
He always comes up in All-Ireland finals with big plays and big scores. Always comes up, and I just think, he'll be now another side of that, we could push Brian Howard to midfield. Like again, these numbers are bad. I wouldn't have Howard could go on O'Connor, and they could fancy McCarthy to keep Gavin White in the back foot or whatever. I don't know. Whatever. You just don't know. You just don't know if they might say, right, Adrian Spillan's going to drop off you. So instead of putting Brian Howard there, let's put James McCarthy there. Do they want to drop off him? You know, that kind of way. So, I think there'll be twists. The 15s aren't going to line out as per. You know what I mean?
No, and the other side then, David, look, we start with the foot. The Dublin full forward line, it's like Costello, Khan, Basquel. I know Basquel he wasn't obviously great the last day, but the show, I've seen him enough in Dublin club football. Like he is a quality player, and pace to burn. If the three of them, if they're running at you, you can only imagine as a quarterback.
It's a free in.
Fucking hell, man. But again, we have Murphy, Thomas Sullivan, Foley from the last day, full back line. Who's going to pick up who? Tom is the best man. Tom probably on Con. Con is probably seen as the best forward there.
No, I don't think so. Yeah, no. Tom's the best of them, and Tom's the best of them. But I don't see that as a match. I think it's a physical mismatch. To be honest, I don't think that's no. I could be wrong. I think Jason Foley and Conor go at it. I think they're two big monsters, to be honest with you, both of them. Foley's a machine. He's so strong. I think he comes from a 200-meter athletics background. Yeah. He is a machine over the ground.
He's wiry.
Yeah. So geez, they won't move Jason. Kerry won't back down and move their full back out of the square. No way will they. I think that'll be a manic matchup. Them two will go at it physically every way, and that'll be a special day. I think Tom Sullivan going to Costello. Costello has been taking this team along, and probably been coming, hasn't probably done it over the years as consistently as he would have liked, and he's really, really been brilliant this year, in fairness. So kicking the frees with Dean Rock not playing, and from play, like some of this kicking against Monaghan was brilliant now. He was excellent, in fairness to him, and he has been all year. In fairness, Costello against us, did he kick 3 or 4 from play anyway? Definitely against us, he would be very, very good.
You really know, Davey. We were saying the last day yesterday. You really know when a forward or a player works on his game. When a right-footed player goes on the left, on his left, and confidence on the wrong side, and curls it over. Same with Stephen O'Brien the last day against Derry. Like Stephen O'Brien, that wasn't in his locker 2 or 3 years ago. He had no left foot up until 3 years ago, and to do that just shows the kind of, I'm going to use the word, the kind of mindset, the growth mindset that them boys have, like trying to the inches that you need to get better here.
The other side of it is I see, so the way I see it is Sullivan on to Costello. I see Foley on to Con, right? I see Graham Sullivan, like I could see him coming out to 11. I could see him picking up Mannion or whoever will come out, whoever the Dublin footballer. He's similar, in my opinion, to the John Small of Dublin. he'll come out and pick up the outlet because he's excellent. He has done this all year brilliantly. Graham O'Sullivan is an excellent defender on the 40. He's an excellent, whereas inside the cornerback, I'm not so sure. It's just maybe because I haven't had as much exposure to him as that inside. Yeah. He is a super halfback. And defensively and attacking wise. So I can see Graham Sullivan coming out to Mannion, or do they go with Paddy Small? One side of it is Pascal guaranteed to start? I don't know. Do they go with Paddy Small? Like, Dublin's ruthless, as you know. Like, Pascal had a poor day. I know he was man of the match previous. I know he was very good against Kildare in the round robin. I know he's a quality player, and he is a quality. And would it be surprised to see him start? No. But he wasn't at it the last day.
I probably think they have more trust in Paddy Small at the end of the game than they do Pascal. I know that sounds weird, but like, that'd be very. Geez, that's harsh now, Davy. If they drop,
it's a ruthless world, Enda.
I know it's ruthless, but he's done enough. He has done it.
He probably has. In Dublin teams in the past, he wouldn't start. And I think if Bugler was fit, if Kilkenny had played, uninterrupted. And if Scully was on form, I think he'd be gone, to be honest with you, because I think Mannion would be in the corner with Costello and Con. That's what I think would happen here. But obviously that's not going to happen now with the makeup of the team. But that's probably more telling on the Dublin side, that their bench is good, but it's not what it was. That kind of.
No, they used to go. They used to go 8-9 deep. Now they're just going 3-4 deep. Yeah. That's. They're eating into it now, and Bugler's gone. People if he is out, people are underestimating. Remember, they're not underestimating it, but he is a huge loss in terms of that role he fulfills, up and down, like that third midfielder role, the dirty role, Davy. It's a fucking horrible role.
Look at the footballers all year. Look at the year Jordan Flynn had. I thought he was brilliant playing it. I thought he was brilliant. Like Kieran Murtagh was brilliant playing it. The Galway man, can't think of his name off the top of my head.
Matthew Tierney or Peter Cook.
And Johnny Heaney was playing a bit of it too. He was wearing 11, but all them lads, I would actually love that role myself personally. If I could run like them boys could run, I'd love that role. I think it's a brilliant role to play. You're involved in everything, but you're so influential in the game, and you cannot underestimate how important them lads are. And Bugler is a huge loss to this setup, no doubt about it.
But even that role for the defensive structure as well, Davy, as in you're obviously stepping back, and you're tagging someone else, so it allows the next man to get back around.
How are you developing your +1 end? How are you developing it? Has to come from somewhere. Has to come from somewhere. You're integral to the whole thing, because you're either pressing the ball or you might be dropping, or whatever the role is you're playing, you're doing something so it's hugely important, and that's why I think it's a great role to play. But that's probably why Dublin, where their issue is, if there is an issue, in getting the right personnel into them positions. Because let's be honest, without knowing them personally, I don't think Paul Mannion or Paddy Small want to do that, to be honest with you. They don't. So that's probably where Dublin's little head scratch this week is, who is our 10 and 12? Who are we really going after here? And that can leave us with Mannion, Pascal, Costello and Con. That kind of way.
Yeah, so if you're obviously going with Dublin here. I'm going with Dublin here too as well. But what could you see? We say Kerry to win this game. What do you see? What has to happen for that? I still think it's only going to be a 2-3 point game. It's not going to be obviously. No. It's going to be it's going to be close. The bookies have it. Dublin slight favourites. Handicap is -1, +1.
Kerry were favourites during the week? I see.
Were they?
Yeah, I think it's flipped. I think it's flipped.
I checked it today. And Dublin were slight favourites.
It's flipped. Yeah. It was the other way. It was the other way during the week.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I just don't think Kerry have enough going outside of the big man. I don't think they have enough. Or even the big two. With Sean O'Shea is really flying, but I do think John Small is the best outlet stopper in the game. I think he's the best at that, So I do think he'll give him his fill of it, and then inside with Mick Fitz more than likely, and whoever the +1, be it Merchant, be it Davy Byrne, whoever they might decide to do that role. I just think they will limit, say, O'Shea and Clifford to probably 10 points or whatever it might be, but Dublin will kick 20, they will kick 214 or they will kick 117 or whatever they're going to kick, and will the Kerry, rear with everybody else, the rest of the cavalry, will they kick 10 points if the two boys are kept to 10? I'm just not sure. That kind of way. And David Goff, brilliant referee, doesn't hand out frees. Exactly what you want. Like exactly what you want for this game. Let them at it. Let them get stuck into each other. Nothing soft. No soft, stupid frees. Let them earn their frees. So we don't want Costello kicking 9 points here and David Clifford and Sean O'Shea kicking 9 points each year and everyone's a winner because there's frees all over the shop. That's the last thing we want here. So I think we've the right man in the middle to do that. And I just don't think Kerry have enough of an supporting cast. And I think the form is there. I could be wrong. Like Paul Ganey could click. Darren Moynihan could chip in. He is good for a score, but he's not, generally good for 2 or 3 scores. Adrian Spillane doesn't generally score. He's the working role. Whereas Dublin, when they have Kilkenny and say Scully there, both Kilkenny will chip in with 2 points every game. That kind of way. So he'll do both. Scully's good for a score. They'll do both. That kind of way. And Fenton coming from midfield, like Jeremy O'Connor is a good player. He can score. I think he scored 1-2 for play. Yeah. He can score, but it doesn't. It's not guaranteed that he'll go over. Fenton's going to kick 2 points. Like Fenton's going to kick 2 points in play. As before, McCarthy chips in, Howard chips in. I just think they'll have too much.
Do you think could there be a little weakness there in the Dublin full back line in terms of, I'm looking at last year against Galway, obviously the high ball, like Clifford is a big man. Shoney O'Shea, if they put him in deeper for a while, again, 2 boys physically very strong, like Davy Burke and Mick Fitz aren't exactly the most, they're physical, but in height they're probably 6 foot each, 6'1" maybe. Yeah. But Clifford, like up close, Clifford is an absolute monster.
Oh, huge. We're all trying to find angles here, right? This Dublin full back line has been tagged. Sure, Johnny Cooper wasn't that much bigger. You'd probably know him better than I would. I'm sure he got a few scouts off him. He's not that big, is he? Like so
I was when Cooper was there, don't worry.
Like when Cooper was there, when Davy Burke was there, when Merchant was there, when Fitzsimons was there, they weren't any bigger then. And like when Aidan O'Shea plays or Comer plays or whoever, all these boys play, they've never, in my opinion, ever in a championship game, whatever but league, they've never been found wanting ever. In my opinion, I could be wrong, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I've never seen that Dublin full back line be found. We've all talked about it, we've all said it, but I don't think they've ever been not targeted. I think they've been targeted many a time, but I don't think they've ever been found wanting. I could be wrong. Do you have examples?
No, I just think Clifford and Clifford would be the people you named there. Clifford is much better in the air than any of the boys you named there.
He's not better in the air, is he?
There's a difference between a ball coming in to the full forward line and a ball being kicked out by a goalie, as we both know.
Oh yeah,
Ado's very good under that. But that trajectory, no, it's a lot to do with the ball, the guy that's kicking it in terms of what kind of heat he puts on it, and what kind of, if he's floating it or is it directly coming down from the sky. But in my opinion, Clifford, he's played there all his life. Ado's been coming in and out. It's a different argument we're on about.
I'm not comparing them whatsoever. I just thought, but even he absolutely is. Look, it's a massive angle. I'm sure they've been working on diagonal balls. I'm sure. And look at Kerry. If there's one thing Kerry have, they have footballers. So Paddy will love to ping ball in there all day. They have like Sean O'Shea, they have Paul Murphy, they have, as I said about Graham O'Sullivan, they have real footballers there who will kick ball in. And if they
balance is it is. It's tough. It is tough. Last thing I'll say on this, we'll say last year's game, players obviously Con, Cluxton, we haven't talked about Cluxton at all, McCaffrey, Mannion, they're all missing last year, and Kerry. Now, watching that game, Costello got an absolute dinger of a goal last year to bring Kerry were in control of that game. Costello got the goal, and momentum obviously changer, and Dublin off they went and Kerry just about sorted out obviously with Shoney O'Shea last year. Do you think they're saying the two teams actually haven't changed that much from the 2019 All-Ireland final?
Yes. I'd say I've seen something that very similar teams to the 19 finals. If Gavin might come off the bench that day for Kerry.
Yeah.
And I think Dublin have improved immeasurably since this time last year. I think they're a different animal altogether. Dublin, I think they weren't anywhere near their standard, I'd say, last year. I don't think they were anywhere near it. And for a long time this year, and probably looked very close to that standard again, as in they weren't going to hit the heights. And it looks to me like the man you just mentioned, it looks to me like the introduction of Cluxton and return of Cluxton changed the whole game. That's what it looks like to me now, in that he arrived into the dressing room and pretty much said, aye, lads, this is nowhere near what's required here. Follow my standard if you want. If you don't, out through the front door with you. That's what it looks like to me, because
go on, sorry.
Look where they look at the change in attitude, the change in performance, the change, and that's only from outside the dressing room. Look at the change in that squad. And Desi made a huge call and dropping young O'Hanlon and bringing Stephen straight into this team. And I think ultimately it paid off. Imagine how tough that must have been with your club mate, dropping your club late, O'Hanlon from Nafina and everything else. But ultimately he's probably been proven right. Clean sheet all the way since. Now I think your county man should have put paid to that clean sheet with the open goal. McLaughlin, I think he should have tapped it into the net. But still, it'd been unbelievable to go through all that with a clean sheet. So, and after having said all that, I think, Dublin winning Sunday, I think Stephen Cluxton's getting an all-star. Like, imagine coming back in whatever month he came back in and picking up an all-star. And probably
42.
A 42. But if you look at it, right, Monaghan are a brilliant team to press. They're a brilliant team. Monaghan are seriously tactically astute side. And when the heat was on, Cluxton picked them apart. Like his ball to Lee Gannon in the half back line at one stage through the press.
Was that there was one at the the one at the Hogan stand was a McCarthy hit, and it was literally inches. He's fucking inches to him. Yeah.
And like that's the level where he's probably lost 5 yards or even 10 yards, I'd say, on the range, and time waits for no man, as you know. So, or he's probably lost that in range, which means you can squeeze higher up the field. You can be more aggressive on your press. And Kerry will come. You watch Kerry over the years. The first time I probably would have seen a proper aggressive 4-4-4 was the National League final, I think it was, in one of the, I don't know, say 16 or 17.
Yeah, against Dublin. Yeah.
I'd never seen him up to that point, right? And oh my God, I don't think a lot of people had, because Dublin were rattled. Cluxton was rattled. Ball was in, I think, Darren O'Sullivan. The Gooch intercepted, give it to Darren O'Sullivan, or the Darren O'Sullivan intercept and give the Gooch, one way or the other anyway. Yeah. And it just rattled them. Now, obviously, they've seen it every year from then on in, and they've improved at it. But Kerry are innovators. They will have a plan here.
And Shane Ryan now is coming out sweeping in front of the full back line. You see that? Like he didn't strike me as a footballer back like 4 or 5 years ago, so he's really improved that side of his game.
I heard Eamon Fitzmaurice on CoCom. He won man of the match full forward for Rathmore in the Junior All Ireland in Croker 6 months ago.
Wow.
Yeah, I didn't know that either. He's a full forward for Rathmore. He got man of the match. Yeah, Croker. So
because the ball he broke on, who did he? It was McGuigan. The ball he clapped McGuigan, and it's it was 40 yards. Pegged it and not a bother.
Not a bother. No, and that's when he said, I think the commentator might have said, holy, and he goes, no, sure, that man's a full forward. That kind of way. So, but he doesn't come out that much now. I know he's sweeping the full back line. That's if they're being aggressive and they're going for it. Like if Morley's gone or whatever might be the case. And look, Morley's going to have to go. This simple as this. Jason Foley is a monster. Like, I think Kerry's going to have to go and win this game. I don't think they're going to be able to sit back. No, they will sit. They'll be pragmatic. They'll hold the ball. They'll play Morley +1. They'll try to suffocate Con. But and then Tom Sullivan out a brilliant man for Costello. Tom Sullivan will do as well as anybody, and he'll probably get 1 or 2 off him, right? Yeah. So in Tom Sullivan, I'd box that off as a brilliant matchup, right? I think Foley is a brilliant matchup for Con, and he's so physical, so quick, so aggressive, so athletic that I'd leave him at times. Now, I'd let Morley go. Fucking go, lads. Go. You're going to have to go and win this game. And there is chinks in this Dublin team. Like, Monaghan got through them a number of times for goal chances early on. Like, we got through them. Like, Kildare got through them. They just tend to outscore you is the problem in the end. But a team like Kerry have obviously, they're coming from a different tier. And Kerry have to go and win it, go to take it on to win the game. They will not win the game by 1,000 cuts against Dublin. They won't do it.
No, I agree with you, Davey. I agree with you. It'll be, and look at you're saying there, Foley and Tom will do well on the 2 boys, Conor and Costello. So it could be Basquel that could be the kind of like the match winner the next day if he does start.
Maybe I'm wrong with Graham O'Sullivan, because maybe he won't go out the half back line. Who's going to pick up? Because Paul Murphy certainly won't go on Basquel because it's a mismatch, right? It's a mismatch. Gavin White isn't the cornerback, not a danger as he going back there, and Morley's not going to mark. So maybe I'm wrong. Graham Sullivan's probably going to pick him up. That's the threat that Dublin pose. They're licensed against Mayo to put him out in Jordan Flynn because they know it's only going to be O'Donoghue and O'Connor, whoever inside, okay, or whoever it's going to be, So whereas with Dublin, with Pascal, with Mannion, with Con, they all have to be marked, and that's the threat that Dublin pose that the other teams don't pose.
Yeah. So
that's why flip it around. Clifford, Geeney's not posing that same threat, right?
Yeah.
And Paddy's not posing that same threat. So Shawnee is 2, whereas Dublin, you cannot leave Pascal. He's shown it time and time again. You cannot leave Costello. You're definitely not leaving Con. And then you Paul Mannion.
There's four. There's four. There's just, as I think we're on the same page here, just in terms of balance. Just think Dublin just have that bit more balance in terms of the score getter. So
look, what about one last thing? What about the Gavin White thing? Will Dublin put a tagger on Gavin White? They put Scully on McCarthy, Conor McCarthy, right? The tag and it didn't work. It clearly didn't work, right? So will Dublin do they want Kilkenny flogged up and down the field at that? Like, is Kilkenny and Paul Murphy not ideal, really? It's probably ideal, isn't it? Like, in that if Kilkenny wears 12, I think he'd be ideal in that they'll football it out, that kind of way. Like they'll
with Gavin White.
No, I think Kilkenny and Paul Murphy is ideal for Dublin. I think it's a brilliant matchup. And nearly let Scully do the role with Gavin White up and down the field, because that's torture. That's pure torture.
Will he have the legs for him, Davy? I don't think Scully will have the legs for him.
The problem is who does.
Yeah. Well,
that's Dublin's issue. That's why I'm wondering McCarthy's role. What will McCarthy's role be? You know, that kind of way. Will they fancy Howard on O'Connor, Dermot O'Connor, that is? Will they? Now, they're not going to take James McCarthy out of the game to tag Gavin White. I know they're not going to do that. But McCarthy, you look back to the league final, you watch McCarthy tag Brendan Rodgers everywhere he went. When Dublin when Derry were in possession, you watch that clip back, he just bear hugged Brendan Rodgers at midfield. Ultimately, Derry got nothing going that day because their key driving force is Rodgers from the middle. And McCarthy, when Dublin weren't in possession, McCarthy bear hugged Rodgers. I could see something potentially along those lines happening, that somebody has White by the scruff every time Dublin aren't in possession to stop him at source, And look, Goff will call a lot of that too, and the linos and etc. But
is that going to be a more collective effort, Davey?
Yeah. It's going to have to be. It's going to have to be, because a wing back, to push up the field on him, it's going to have to be. And again, Dublin, I don't think they'll be so confident in their own abilities. They're not going to sacrifice anybody, I don't think, to do that particular role,
No, but I think, but like Gavin White for them is kind of the X factor, isn't he? Like in terms of that raw pace, that like he was stuttering along at the start of the season, but the quarterfinal and the semi-final, he's really coming of age, man. And he
came back against us. He came back in that same game against us, right? Started against us in second or last round of the league, round 7. We were like happy days. He's only back from he hadn't played this last year, and sure, he got man of the match against us in the first game of the league, like in round 7. Like that'll tell you the quality you're dealing with here now. And he, his goal last week, reminded me of McCaffrey's goal in 2019. Was it? Like,
He reminds me more like a Lee Keegan in terms of he doesn't have the top end speed of McCaffrey, but he has the kind of speed endurance of Keegan, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
That top end speed, like McCaffrey's an absolute freak in his heyday in terms of that top end speed.
He doesn't have it anymore, I don't think, does he?
No, he doesn't. He doesn't.
It's not too easy when he hits it.
Yeah. And that goal against was it Kerry in 2019? I was absolutely like.
But White's one the other day wasn't too bad. You watch it back.
No. Again, we're splitting hairs here, Davey. Don't get me wrong here. Yeah, and White is fucking outrageous as well. But in terms of that, like McCaffrey's a fucking sprinter. He was trained as a sprinter. That's the type of top end speed I'm on about here. Like, fucking ridiculous. Yes. He was honestly, he's like a fucking go on. Sorry.
Like if it's in the balance like this, I can't see past Dublin. Again, tight game, tight. Like Jesus, the margins here, so tight. But I just can't see past Dublin. There's no passengers whatsoever. Like earlier in the year, everyone would have been targeting A, B, or C. Oh, this fella's only new in. We'll have a cut off him. They're all gone. Gone. None of them are around anymore. Now it's you go down through that team. Who's the newest member into Lee Gannon? What a player! You know what I mean? Like so, that's what you're doing. Pascal and Gannon, Jesus. they're not too bad, are they? Like, you know what I mean? So like you're back to the old brigade here. And then off the bench with 20 to go, this is going to be, what is it going to be? It's going to be 1-14 to 13 or something like that with 20 to go. And what are they going to introduce McCaffrey then? And even a good insight from Garrett McKinless the other day on some podcast when he said the last thing you want to be looking up at now when you're starting to flag is McCaffrey coming in.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of way. Like, so that's across the board. Everyone's thinking the same, you know, and teams are starting to run out of depth when they're at that sub level and they're bringing in McCaffrey. Like it's different level of operation.
And don't forget Dean Rock as well. He's like, with yourself with 10 minutes to go. I used to play the role a bit myself. Like, the game is opened up, and like in terms of look at that stage, there's a lot of looping around, getting on softball, and there's no better man. Suits him.
Oh, and his movement, like, look, the pace is clearly gone. The legs are clearly gone, right? But his movement and his brain is class. You know, that's exactly what you said. The looping, the cuts, the creating space that isn't there. You know, or there's not. That's his game now, and he's brilliant at it. And disaster, like, for a tired cornerback. You know, that kind of like disaster. And again, as we said, you know, Kerry, you have Tom Sullivan top of the pops. Jason Foley, I think, is brilliant. I think Graham Sullivan's a brilliant marker on the half-back line. Paul Murphy doesn't want to mark. Gavin White certainly doesn't want to mark. At that stage, who's going to be in to do mark? You know, that kind of way? Like, it's going to be difficult for them. And that's the point. That's the questions Dublin pose. And ultimately, that's why I see them winning by 2 to 3 points. I just can't see. And I do think, last thing, the push for McCarthy as captain to get 9 All-Irelands and to lift Sam Maguire and you know, what a warrior. Is there any other word from, like, what a player, what a warrior?
No Division 2 side has won the Ireland in 25 years. That's another interesting stat. Now, it wouldn't surprise me at all for Dublin to break that stat, because it's something they'd fucking like to do. Like, so.
And no player of the year. This is a worry for us all. No player of the year has ever retired as player of the year. You know, as in reigning player of the year. So for example, if McCarthy was to win it, right? If McCarthy's to win it, captain Dublin, win the All-Ireland, 9 All-Irelands, you know, immortality, him, Cluxton, and Fitz, you know, he's going to have to book a trend if he's going to go. You know, that kind of way. Like, so what does that? You know what I mean? Like, it's some going, isn't it? Like, it's some going.
It's some going, but Clifford, obviously, if Dublin win it, they will. One of the Dublin team has gotten, but Clifford has been absolutely. I think people are just numb to how good he is now at this stage. Like, in terms of even the Gooch on the Sunday game, and he wasn't a bad player, was he? Like, he was saying that obviously the consistency he's shown, Davy, is absolutely outrageous.
You know what the best thing? I was sitting at home watching. I didn't have the stomach to go in. I was sitting at home watching. Oh no, sorry, I was on holidays, and I was watching Kerry and the semi-final, Derry, right? Yeah. And I watched it, and I watched it back properly. And about 65 minutes in the clock, I am certain Jack was with Quirk and the goalkeeper. I can't think of his name.
Murphy, Jim
Murphy, right. And they look bamboozled now. They were in trouble. You were a couple of months down. And I just said, though, to the man that was with me, I just said, you have David Clifford. You know, if that's me standing there at that point, I can completely understand that Jack looks rattled here, because they were in trouble. They were massive. I think the whole country can admit they were in trouble. But Clifford and just drew that free at the key moment, and people don't maybe get it. Drew the free. I think it was soft, but he drew the free. Right, that's the first thing. Get his arm pulled off McCaig, and then that gives you the opportunity to set the press. See, that's the difference. A score from play is brilliant, and we all want scores from play, but the opportunity to get the press on, they turn that ball over, bang over the bar, draw a game, all momentum with Kerry, game on, to win the game. And it was one single-handed, like, let's be honest. Like, Clifford just, once you get him the ball, but the key thing, Enda, he came looking for the ball. He demanded the fucking ball. You know, some lads go hiding. These big lads go hiding. You know, he came out to his wing, won a fucking ball, took McCaig on, turned back around, pretended half, pulled the arm back himself, popped it back out free, and Burns kicked that wide. Like, that was wide, and they got the free out of it. Ultimately, set the press up, go up the field, get the draw, and kick on from there. Like, that's just quality, isn't it? That's just quality. Like,
yeah, and look at is he 23, 24? 24, man. You have another 6 years or 6 good years to put up with that man now. 10. Yeah, he might be slowing down at that stage. He might be slowing down.
Yeah, and he deserves every plaud. He's a decent fella by all accounts, and fair play to him. And he's a joy. Like, I remember I was involved with the club team last year in Kildare, and So National League, Kildare playing Kerry in the first round, and I was going, and it didn't suit the family that day to go to this game, but I was going. I said at home, like, how many chances at that stage to go and see David Clifford in the flesh? It's just huge. Like, he's brilliant, and more power to him. We're all still going to try find ways now to disrupt him. You know what I mean? Like, and cause power. And I think that's the whole joy of it. That's the innovation in it.
Yeah, exactly.